Truth or Trivia on the Ultimate Live Show, exclusive to the Ultimate Live Show. Truth or Trivia, red pill quiz. Basically like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire but better, but without the budget for any prizes. So instead you get the most ultimate of all ultimate winner awards displayed to over 750 billion people throughout the galaxy. So, you know, that's worth winning. Basically like kind of, you know, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but just with some red pills and ting thrown in for good measure. Number 1. What is it called when a parody news story misleads the reader into believing it is to be sincere? What is it called when a parody news story, so a news story taking a piss, is basically believed as being true? Someone misunderstands it. Is it Ringer's Law? Is it B, Poe's Law? C, Influctus? Or D, Malapropism? Is it A, Ringer's Law? B, Poe's Law? C, Infructus? D, Malapropism? Yeah? What's it called when something's a piss take but it's so crazy and everything else is so crazy that you think it must be true but it's not? Number 2. Which co-founder was responsible for funding the Event 201 pandemic preparedness exercise, the one that we just saw in the SHTF news? For those that didn't watch it and are watching this afterwards, it will be up in the corner there for you to have a look. October 2019. So was it A, Larry Page who funded the Event 201? Was it B, Paul Allen? Was it C, Dustin Moskovitz? Or was it D, Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum? So who funded Event 201? Funded. Was it Larry Page? Was it Paul Allen? Dustin Moskovitz? Or was it Klaus Schwab? Question number 3. How many Satoshis, or Sats for short, make up one complete Bitcoin? How many Satoshis? Which is like cents. Like, but not like cents. So, a Satoshi is the smallest divisible part of a Bitcoin. So, how many of them make up one complete Bitcoin? Is it A, 10 million? B, 100 million? C, 1 billion? Or is it D, 10 billion? Is it A, 10 million? B, 100 million? C, 1 billion? Or D, 10 billion? Number 4. More than halfway there. The Uncanny Valley phenomenon. The Uncanny Valley phenomenon refers to something that looks creepy because it looks too what? Something that looks creepy because it looks too what? Too real? A? Or B, too big? C, too fake? Or D, too deep? The Uncanny Valley phenomenon refers to something that looks creepy because it looks too what? Real, big, fake, or deep? Question number 5. Hypengyophobia. Mash that up. Hypengyophobia is the abnormal fear of what? Hypengyophobia. Is it A, fast movement? Is it B, deep water? C, responsibility? Or D, exercise? A, fast movement? B, deep water? C, responsibility? Or D, exercise? The penultimate question, number 6. Who sold 400 plus tons of UK gold at the absolute complete and utter bottom of a 20-year bear market? Bear market means who sold 400 tons of UK gold at the bottom of a 20-year bear market? Was it A, Gordon Brown? Was it B, Theresa May? C, Tony Blair? Or D, John Major? Lawrence Harvey, you haven't seen the last question yet, so how can you have 7 answers? A, Gordon Brown? B, Theresa May? C, Tony Blair? Or D, John Major? Someone made a lot of money out of that deal. Let's put it that way. Oh, the ultimate question now. Number 7, the final question. Once you see this last one, you're ready to put your answers in. Are you ready? Number 7. NASA. I told you we'd need to have another NASA one in there. Number 7. NASA is unable to provide the original tapes from the Apollo 11 mission. This is the videotapes from the original Apollo 11 moon landing mission because they were what? A, lost. B, burnt. C, classified. Or D, erased? NASA, they cannot produce the original tapes from the original moon landing. Why not? What was their excuse? Were they lost? Were they burnt? Were they classified? Or were they erased? So that, my darlings, is the end of the Truth or Trivia round. So stay tuned for the answers, where we'll reveal all. In the meantime, we'll see what we got rocking in there with the chat, and we'll see this is the first person with the first formed answer, Margie Mulder. Oh no, sorry. Bob. Bob was the first answer there. Right, the answers. Let's see how well you did for this week's Truth or Trivia Red Pilled quiz. Number one, we had, and like I say, we haven't got an absolute total and utter winner, but we've got somebody who had the least number of wrong answers. So cheers, Connie Richards. She's just come in. So number one, we had, what is it called when a parody news story misleads the reader into believing it to be sincere? Now, let me just tell you now, this only happens in societies that are completely fucked, basically. Because reality has become so crazy that people struggle to differentiate what's a joke and what's actually real. Right? If you were to tell somebody 2 years ago what's happening right now, and the laws and the rules that they've come out with and the stuff you're supposed to do they've come out with, a lot of people would think it was a joke, right? But it's serious. So that's called Poe's Law. Poe's Law. Well done, Debbie Sermon. She said B before I told you the answer. I do like to give an explanation of the answer before giving it, to give people an opportunity to put their answers in the chat before I say it. But yeah, Poe's Law come up a lot recently because I see things and comments on Twitter posts and stuff where people literally don't believe it to be true. They think it's a joke, but it's real. Yeah. When they see like police, I've got some hair or something stuck to my lip. Sorry. They got police in, where was it? Was it Austria or Belgium? I think it was Belgium. And they've got meter sticks, 2 meter sticks, foldy sticks. And they're going around the town, city, where people are just wandering about and like literally holding up ruler sticks to see if they're within 2 meters so they can give them a fine or battle them to the ground and, you know, kneel on their neck and put, you know, strips on your wrists and drag you off and throw you in a camp for not practicing social distancing. And like literally people don't believe it. It's so stupid and crazy that people think it's a joke, and it's not, it's real. So Poe's Law. Number two, which co-founder was responsible for funding the Event 201? That's classic because I had that in the SHTF news, which was a pandemic preparedness exercise talking about a coronavirus of all things. Except the story there was it was emanating in Chile, not China. And it was coming from pigs, not bats, as the story was originally. So Christina G says, what were you doing during intermission? I was smoking for a start, and Magic Hand came in with her, I got to flash it, whoop, little bit of paper, whoop, that tells me who came the closest. Setting up the folders, entering the winner name into the winner thing, ready for in a minute, and loads of other stuff that I have to do in the break. Oh, I tell you what I'll do. I did say to the patrons, I'll show you behind the scenes of what really goes on here on the page for the Patreon members. Yeah, an exclusive video. What I have to do behind the scenes. So here we go. Which co-founder was responsible for funding the Event 201? Which, like I say, it was a drill of exactly what we've seen over the last year and a half, 2 years, right? Which was more than a year ago now. It was in October 2019, so about 3 months before it actually rolled out. They were talking about how they're going to coordinate the misinformation campaigns that they had already foreseen happening somehow. Surely if it was a genuine thing and it was like everyone was just dropping dead in the streets, you wouldn't really need to worry about people lying about it or pretending it wasn't happening, would you? That would be the last thing you'd spend your time worrying about. But anyway, Dustin Moskovitz. And then the next question is, well, who the hell is he? And those who don't know, he is the co-founder of what? Because it says there, the guess was in the way I did the question, which co-founder? There was a clue, right? So let me know in the chat if you know what he is the co-founder of. And he has apparently paid a lot of money to a lot of social media things to stop his name coming up. See if anyone can guess what he is the co-founder of before they can do Siri. Facebook. He's the co-founder of Facebook. Work that out. And he funded, I think entirely, the Open Project is his sort of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or the Clinton Foundation. Dustin Moskovitz is the Open Project, I think it's called. So yeah, he's co-founder of Facebook. So yeah, runs deep, doesn't it? Runs deep, yeah. It's a big club and you ain't in it, as old matey boy would say. What's his name? The comedian. So number 3, how many Satoshis? How many sats? How many Satoshis make up one complete Bitcoin? 100 million. So it's 100 million. So basically 0.000, I think it's 7 zeros and then a 1. So basically, and this is a thing, people think that you have to buy one Bitcoin, which is like $47,000 at the moment, but you don't. You can just buy a couple 100,000 Satoshis, or a quarter of a Bitcoin, or 0.1 of a Bitcoin, or 0.0001. I think at one point in my life, I actually had about 0.15 Bitcoin. when it was worth about $1,000, $2,000, I had about 0.15 or something. Was the best I ever did. And every time I had to sell it to pay the bills when shit was bad, and just never made any money out of it. So I got into blockchain programming instead, since I'm a programmer. So I understand blockchain from the inside out, and developer for cryptocurrencies and stuff. You know, we can make our own crypto coin if you want, our own cryptocurrency. I just need about $1,000 investment and we'll be fine. But anyway, 100 million is what that is. So one Bitcoin's epic. You know, if you were buying a chocolate bar, you wouldn't be talking about buying it in Bitcoin. You'd be talking about buying it for like, you know, a couple of hundred Satoshis. Yeah. So it just takes people a while to get their head around dealing with 0.0000s rather than, you know, thousands of dollars or whatever. You know what I mean? So anyway, number 4, the uncanny valley phenomenon. Oh, it's a shame I was planning to get a video set up for this, but I'm sure you've all seen it. The uncanny valley phenomenon refers to something that starts looking a bit creepy because it starts looking a bit too what? Real. Yeah. And for any of those that have seen it, basically, Kitty's saying memes. I lost. She's lost already. Now she's seen enough questions to show she doesn't won. But basically, there's like a new robot. Well, it's not new, but there's a robot that's been flying around and went a bit viral on TikTok and YouTube of like a new robot that looks a little bit like iRobot. Is it called? You know, the one with Will Smith, that movie. And the face is really real, and it's a little bit too real to the point where it looks a bit creepy. And that is known as the uncanny valley phenomenon. So when I was studying robotic engineering and stuff like that, you have to be made aware. And again, as a visual effects expert as well, I don't like calling myself an expert, but a visual effects professional, you again have to be aware of making the same mistake, making something look too real, but it's not real. And the brain has a very uncanny way of detecting the weirdness. And so to give you an example of how bad that was, with the Shrek movie, had to be completely re-rendered because originally the princess, whatever her name is, played by Cameron Diaz, Shrek's wife, future wife, right? Originally in the design of the stage and the characters, the princess's character was made to be really realistic, with the latest modern day CGI technology they had at the time, right? But when they showed it to kids like 5, 6, 7-year-olds, they literally burst out crying and were just hiding. They didn't like it. And it was the uncanny valley phenomenon. It was like creepy. So they had to scale it back and end up making the princess look a little bit more cartoon-like. And when they made her look a bit more unreal, more obviously fake, it was more acceptable. It wasn't in that uncanny valley. And the valley refers to the point at which the believability goes right down. It's like a valley if you see it on the graph. So anyway, you study this stuff anytime you study things like robotic engineering or things like visual effects. You have the same problem. I think it was Kitty I was talking to during the week about this. She didn't know it was going to be a question of the truth or trivia, but it's the same with like when I was doing photo editing. If you do like an aerial photo of a beach resort And you can go too far where you're taking out the rubbish out of the sand on the beach in Photoshop to make it look cool and nice and tidy. But if you go too far, the beach just looks fake. The sand looks fake. And again, you've got to be aware of the uncanny valley phenomenon. Anyway, number 5. Hypengyophobia is the abnormal fear of what? And that is responsibility. Fear of responsibility. There seems to be a lot of people on the planet right now with that, innit? Everyone seems to want everyone else to take responsibility for their own selves. So, yeah, not many people on the planet anymore seem to be able to take responsibility. And I've noticed that in the workplace as well, where people, you know, the culture in the workplace in a big office environment is all about a blame culture. It's about who can they blame and put responsibility onto to say that's why the project failed, or that's why we didn't win that contract, or, you know what I mean? It was her fault or his fault or their fault, you know what I mean? It's bad news, man. But as a computer programmer, you have to have you learn, and as an engineer, you learn to be 100% responsibility. You know, as a data analyst, if the data tells you something, you've got to be responsible for the outcome of that. And the same as if you're writing a load of code and it doesn't work, it's not anyone else's fault. It's not the computer's fault. It's because you've got some errors in your syntax, right? And it's up to you to take responsibility and have a look through and see where you made your mistake. So when you do jobs like that day in, day out, your brain is trained to just always be accountable for everything you're always doing and not be looking for someone else to blame, because that's just getting in the way of the problem being solved, right? So for someone like me, it's a real big frustration seeing this playing out in the world the way it is. Anyway, number 6, penultimate question. Who sold 400 fucking tons of gold at the bottom of a 20-year bear market, right? And I'm going to tell you who it is now so that you can picture this person while we're shaming him, right? Gordon Brown. He was basically the finance, whatever the fuck he was, treasurer, chancellor of the exchequer or whatever the fuck at the time, yeah? And I tell you what, he has got to have made a serious briefcase of money under the table for this deal. To sell an entire, well, it's about 50% of the entire country's stockpile of gold at the absolute total and utter bottom of the market that it has ever been is just amazing. And I'm talking about this fucker sold our gold for $275, right? $275 an ounce. $275 an ounce. You're talking $2,000 an ounce right now. That's the lowest it had ever been, and he sold 400 tons of it. Fucking amazing. So thanks for that. Number 7, and don't forget, if you think America's got any gold as well, they haven't. They've got nothing. The only gold they've got is whatever they've got left after what they robbed off Gaddafi. Another story. Moving on. Number 7. NASA, never a straight answer. NASA is unable, fucking amazing, is unable to provide the original videotapes from the original Apollo 11 mission landing on the moon. Because they were what? They were what? Can you imagine being the one who had to come up with an excuse? So it's like, right, yeah, so, yeah, there's a bunch of high up people, NASA, that don't really believe the whole moon landing thing, and they're pretty sure that by looking at the original footage, they'll be able to tell. And as well, your telemetry data, they don't have any telemetry data either, by the way. And the excuse they gave as to why they couldn't produce the original footage from the moon landing. Everyone's saying D, so those that know, erased. They fucking erased it. And didn't erase it by accident. No. If you look at the original thing, the original story was released in 2006, right? So it's been in the mainstream quite a while now when they had to admit to it. But their excuse was, get this, it's a little bit like my fucking dog ate my homework, right? It's not even as good as my dog ate my homework. Fuck me, I used to come up with some good excuses at school for not doing my homework. Anyway, yeah, erased because they ran out of tapes. And so to reuse the tapes, they erased them first. Now, if for those that don't know, and I looked into it, they used a full clout Gauss, right? A full clout Gauss right, Gauss being magnetic thing, yeah, magnetic tape, means that they've purposefully erased it. Now, for those that don't know, you don't need to erase something to reuse it. You can just wait until that reel is up for use, right? And even if it's got stuff on it, it doesn't matter. You can just pull it out and you can write straight onto it. You don't need to Gauss it first, like as in strip it back to nothing first to then have it as new tape. What? So yeah, absolute nonsense. So your final answers after all the rants and red pills, red pill and rants. Actually, we should have to brand something like that, shouldn't it be? Rants and red pills, right? Final answers then should be B, C, B, A, C, A, D. B, C, B, A, C, A, D. Let me know in the chat what you're thinking about this week's Truth or Trivia. I see a few people telling me they reckon it was a hard one this week, says Christina G. Christina G usually does quite well. I think you've won one of them before, haven't you? This week's winner is Shanna Hyde. Well done, Shanna Hyde. With only 2 wrong. So let's hear it in the chat for Shanna Hyde, who is also our newest VIP Patreon member. So wow, thank you very much. Even just for that, you deserve to be a winner already, Shanna Hyde. So thank you, well done. Let's show some love for Shanna in the chat. And I think there was someone else who only got 2 wrong as well. But Shanna was the first one in there, so very well done. That's a great effort. And like a lot of people said there, it was a tricky one this week. I ram-packed it full of red pills this week, did I not?